Alright, today I'm talking about a character that resonates with me on a personal level, Blaze the cat. Her story and journey is inspiring to me. So in this video, I went to recap Blaze's journey in Sonic Rush while in the process exploring what makes Blaze's character so interesting and why her story stands out to me and why I can relate to it so much. So it's time to get in here. At the start of Blaze's journey, she wakes up in a new world and is concerned about losing these soul emeralds to a mysterious mustached villain at this point in the story. So she sets off to find these emeralds to save her world from danger. As she makes her way through the night carnival zone, she comes into contact with this mysterious mustached villain that is revealed to be Dr. Eggman. He's all too familiar to the audience, especially if this isn't or wasn't their first Sonic game, but to Blaze, he is a complete stranger from another world, which he reveals to Blaze that they are in fact in another world, which raises her concern level. After demanding the soul emeralds after Eggman shows them to her, Blaze manages to defeat Eggman, but that only grants her one soul emerald, meaning that her journey is just getting started because she needs to collect all 7 soul emeralds to complete her quest. At this point, Blaze is still unsure of where she even is and doesn't even have a comrade to help her traverse through this mysterious new world. That is, until Cream the Rabbit, who has been keeping an eye on Blaze and hiding from her, she enters the picture here. When Blaze confronts her, Cream is excited to meet and befriend Blaze immediately, which is weird to Blaze, the concept of being so friendly when she thinks that Cream should be more cautious, which already gives a lot of insight into Blaze's upbringing without her having really explained it yet. Blaze eventually gives in and surrenders her name, almost begrudgingly. Cream then invites Blaze to her house, a gesture that Blaze finds surprising given that they've just met. But despite her reluctance, Blaze is roped into visiting as Cream literally just takes Blaze to her house. There, Blaze meets Cream's mother, Vanilla the Rabbit, and when Cream refers to Blaze as her friend, this confuses Blaze even more. Having no time for horseplay or chatter and clearly being uncomfortable in this situation, Blaze tries to return to her search for the soul emeralds, but Cream and Vanilla insist on helping, suggesting that Sonic could be of assistance. But Blaze, determined to handle things on her own, initially refuses this offer to work with Sonic because this is her problem, which will be a constant theme throughout her story. But because Blaze is a newcomer to this world, she at least accepts Cream's help to avoid getting lost in her search for the soul emeralds. At this point in the story, Cream genuinely wants to help Blaze because she is her friend, while Blaze doesn't necessarily reciprocate the same feeling. Blaze doesn't see Cream as a friend, but she's just using her as somewhat of a stepping stone to accomplish her goal. As Blaze travels through the Leaf Storm Zone and defeats the Egg Hammer Mega, she takes the soul emerald that was left behind as Sonic was about to grab it and runs away without an introduction. Next, Blaze makes her way through the Mirage Road Zone and defeats the Egg Scarab, granting her the 3rd soul emerald. Next, their journey leads them to Knuckles the Echidna, who Blaze is reluctant to meet, but Cream makes her anyways, and Blaze just goes through with this because she hasn't gotten lost because of Cream, and once she collects 4 more soul emeralds, she can ditch Cream. That's her mindset right now at this point in the story. Knuckles is suspicious of Blaze and her possession of the soul emeralds because they give up a similar power to the Chaos Emeralds. He advises Blaze to hand them over to Sonic, which infuriates Blaze as she insists that this is her responsibility to protect them. And this gets Blaze and Knuckles into a shouting match that Blaze and Cream retreat from because they have more important things to worry about than that knucklehead. Next, Blaze and Cream venture through the Water Palace zone where Blaze defeats the Egg Turtle and claims her 4th Soul Emerald, which excites Blaze that she was able to get 4 Soul Emeralds without this Sonic figure that everyone keeps on going on about. Next, when they meet Amy Rose, who's been searching for Sonic, Blaze grows increasingly frustrated with everyone's obsession with Sonic, but she also talks about how she's not really getting any negative vibes, which seems to be somewhat of a small turning point for her and her reluctance to meet Sonic. When Amy claims to be Sonic's girlfriend and goes on and on about how she loves Sonic, this open expression of her feelings makes Blaze reflect on her own emotional restrictions, which gives small insight into her upbringing at this point in the story before Blaze is able to share her full story. Ironically, after this, while Cream was explaining that Amy has Sonic radar and can track him, this gets Blaze to finally smile, which excites Cream, but Blaze doesn't want to admit this and is almost embarrassed of this slip up, embarrassed to show that she's having fun and potentially warming up to Cream. Blaze then continues her quest, traveling through the altitude limit zone and defeating the Egg Eagle to secure her 5th Soul Emerald. Shortly after this, Blaze finally encounters Sonic, who is aware of the space-time continuum tear caused by the missing emeralds, and asks Blaze if she knows anything about Eggman Nega, basically the Soul Dimension version of Eggman that Sonic has been dealing with for his story in this game. Despite Sonic's offer to help, Blaze insists on handling the situation alone because it's her responsibility, to which Sonic doesn't agree with at all. But while leaving, Blaze is surprised that someone actually took action against what is happening in the Chaos Dimension, despite originally thinking that no one cared, which seemed to be another turning point in her relationship with Sonic, becoming interested in him and asking Cream what sort of person Sonic is. Next, Blaze goes through the huge crisis zone and defeats the Egg Hammer Fortress, collecting her 6th Soul Emerald. Next, they meet Amy, who tells them about Sonic trying to find them, to which Blaze happily says that she found 6 Soul Emeralds by herself and she doesn't need Sonic's help, which seems to go back on her slight development from the previous act, but not really, and I'll explain later. Anyways, this upsets Amy and she hammers it home, no pun intended, but she hammers it home that Blaze is stubborn and that she can rely on friends for help, and even if she can accomplish things on her own, it's always better with friends. And Amy and Cream's lecture about friends seems to get to Blaze where she's still not fully embracing the power of friendship, but it doesn't necessarily feel wrong to her, so she just goes along with what they're saying, sort of half-heartedly, as she hasn't fully warmed up to this idea of friendship yet. Next, Knuckles shows up, finally having caught up to Blaze, still mad about their confrontation from earlier, but Amy volunteers to hold Knuckles off for them because they're in a hurry, to which that kind gesture shocks Blaze that a friend is looking out for her. But she and Cream are able to escape, and when Blaze thanks her for that, Cream says that Blaze doesn't have to thank her because they're friends, which gets Blaze to start warming up more, saying that she's never had this feeling before, but it's not so bad. Next, Blaze goes through the Deadline Zone, determined to retrieve the last Soul Emerald, and as she's demanding the Soul Emerald from Dr. Eggman, Sonic intervenes, which doesn't please Blaze because Eggman is her opponent. When Sonic doesn't leave, Blaze challenges him to a fight, to the delight of Eggman, because rather than defeating him, they will both take each other out, all because of Blaze's stubbornness. In this showdown, Blaze finally opens up and tells her story and explains her burden as the guardian of the Soul Emeralds, expressing her isolation, which was caused by her fire powers and how they were cursed. She's always been alone, so she will take care of this on her own. Sonic then admires her strength but reminds her that it's okay to rely on friends and that she can't carry the entire world on her shoulders. Blaze then defeats Sonic and Eggman and secures the final Soul Emerald. She ultimately accomplished the goal in her way by collecting the Soul Emeralds mostly by herself with basically no assistance from Sonic. But after this, Sonic has a chat with her about friendship and that everything doesn't have to be on her shoulders, and Blaze finally agrees and they formally meet. Shortly after, when Blaze calls upon Cream as they're about to set out to resolve the issue of the chaos and soul dimensions colliding, Sonic and Blaze come to a realization that Cream is no longer with them, which really shocks Blaze. Then Tails comes in, telling them the bad news that Cream has been kidnapped by Eggman, and when Tails talks about the letter that he received from Eggman, Blaze, not Sonic, is the first one wanting to read this letter. Eggman offers an ultimatum that if they want Cream back, Blaze will have to go to the final zone alone. When discussing this and Sonic and Tails insisting that they travel with Blaze, she refuses their help, but not because of the same motives as before when she was being stubborn, but this time it's because she cares for Cream, as Cream is her friend and she doesn't want anything to happen to her because Blaze was told to go alone. So Sonic and Tails let her go, as Sonic learns himself that believing in someone is part of friendship as well, which is nice development for him and doesn't paint him in the right for everything because he's able to see the value in Blaze completing this mission alone. So Blaze sets off for the final zone and defeats Eggman. At first, Blaze is saddened because she can't find Cream in the rubble until Cream falls out of the sky and Blaze catches her, and Cream thanks Blaze for saving her. But just like when Cream saved Blaze from Knuckles, Blaze told Cream not to mention it because they're friends, and that ends Blaze's regular story. In the final story, Blaze is surprise attacked by Eggman and Eggman Nega, causing the Soul Emeralds to lose all of their power. Then Sonic and friends show up to the scene and explain that as long as she has the power of friendship, the Soul Emeralds will never lose their glow, which then causes Sonic and Blaze to turn into their super forms, Super Sonic and Burning Blaze. Then they set off into the extra zone and combine their powers to defeat the Eggmans, which restores peace to both of their worlds. As Blaze prepares to return to her world, Sonic tells her to be true to herself, and when she gets back to her world, she reflects on her journey and how although she is the princess of the soul dimension and it's her responsibility to protect the soul emeralds, her making everything her responsibility almost led to disaster, meaning that in the end she learned her lesson, and this development would definitely carry over to the subsequent game, Sonic Rush Adventure, but her story in Sonic Rush ends here. Blaze the Cat resonates with me on a personal level, especially at the beginning of her journey. Like Blaze, I am introverted and self-reliant and value independence a lot. Her story is a mirror to my own experiences and challenges. Blaze's character embodies the traits of introversion and independence. She's a guardian, burdened with the responsibility of protecting the soul emeralds, and she often prefers to handle things on her own. This resonates with my own tendency to rely on myself and take on responsibilities without seeking help. In school, whenever I had to work on partner assignments, this was always a big deal for me because I not only hate interaction, I just hate the responsibility that's shared. Sometimes I'm ill-equipped for the assignment that we're working on and my partner gets mad at me, and because of this, I get the feeling of being dumb and inadequate. Or sometimes it's the other way around where I can breeze through an assignment, but because I have to wait on my partner, they're dragging me down when I could have got that assignment done faster without them. I don't want to rope people into my problems as I feel like I work better and faster on my own. It's a similar feeling to how when Blaze just wanted to look for the soul emeralds, Cream kept on interrupting her journey by forcing her to interact with all of her friends that she clearly didn't want to interact with because she's had a hard time opening up and making friends, and she just wanted to get back to her mission. Also, when Blaze's refusal to take Sonic's help was contributing to her dimension being in danger, even though this was her fault, considering Blaze's upbringing of self-reliance, It was hard to blame Blaze too much in that situation because depending on herself is all she's ever known, and in her battle with Sonic, she was fighting against that. So Blaze's determination to be self-reliant is relatable for sure. Also, Blaze often struggles with balancing her sense of responsibility with her personal emotions. She tends to suppress her feelings to stay focused on her responsibilities. This aspect of her character hits home for me as I've often found myself putting my responsibilities and obligations ahead of my own emotions. Blaze's journey towards understanding and expressing her feelings while still fulfilling her responsibilities is inspirational, and I wish that I could be like that for sure. I also love how even though she accepts the power of friendship and isn't able to save her dimension without the help of Sonic, I like how she is able to collect all of the Soul Emeralds and save Cream mostly by herself without Sonic, still getting it done in a way that's suited for her and showing that self-reliance isn't a bad quality at all. Even when she learned the value of friendship, which carried over into the following game, Sonic Rush Adventure, I love how she didn't become completely useless and way too reliant on her friends, and she was able to balance that nicely and stay in line with what made me like her as a character. Blaze the cat resonates with me because her character reflects many aspects of my own personality and life experiences. Her story of growth and learning to trust others while still maintaining her independence is something that I really like and connect with, and it makes her one of my favorite Sonic characters. Wrapping things up, although I knew of Sonic Rush Adventure, I had no idea that Blaze was in it and only remembered it for the opening song, A New Venture. So when I first really saw Blaze, it was in Mario and Sonic at the 2008 Beijing Olympic Games and as Sir Percival in Sonic and the Black Knight, which isn't even Blaze, they're just using her character model. But for all of these years, she just seemed like another character in the lineup. But as I delved deeper into the Sonic universe, I discovered that she has a story and there's much more to her than just being one of Sonic's friends, like in her other appearances outside of the Rush games. In Sonic Rush, Blaze's character is nicely developed. Her journey in the game is not just about retrieving the Soul Emeralds, but it's also a complete breaking down and destruction of the walls that she built up around herself. Initially solitary and self-reliant, Blaze's interactions with characters like Cream the Rabbit, Amy Rose, and especially Sonic gradually teach her the value of friendship and trust. Blaze's evolution from a lone warrior to someone who learns to rely on others when needed is a great story. This story of personal growth and the power of friendship makes Blaze a much deeper character and a more relatable character than I initially thought. Discovering this side of Blaze has made me appreciate her even more, and it makes her one of the best characters in the Sonic universe. Alright, that is all for now.